So when live came along, suddenly you're able to take audio and trigger it non-linearly, like a sampler, but again without all this hassle. And just the simple thing of being able to say, okay, I'm going to play this, and maybe it's got quantized playback, or maybe it hasn't. If you can take a long, say a 4-bar phrase, chop it up and say, okay, I'm going to have the whole phrase trigger on one note quantization, so I hit it 1, 2, 3.5, 4, and it goes, and then subcuts of it trigger on with 16th quantization, and now I can really make that thing come alive, and that's we still use that a lot with breakbeats and things, because it just gives it's like a quantizing sampler that you can't fuck up. Which is an incredible thing, because also there's one other thing with me jamming and like often playing cut up drum loops. If I played something this is pre-live, and the sampler played something momentarily out of time in passing. Normally it wouldn't matter, but if Mike picked it up into the dub and it repeated, it would hang around like a bad smell, one little out of time hit, ga-ding. So, when we were able to do that live, it was a great...
And then it was just me being out of time.
So, have you found, or have you noticed that the music that you do has changed also as that technology has changed, or has it been... significantly?
I think it's undoubtedly, because the technology, no matter how much freedom it gives you, it does push you into a corner. I think that's why musicians, some people just still like having the old clunky synth in the corner, or the analog verse, or the external compressor or processor, because it's just the thing that helps them make their sound. I think the scary thing about it all is that I think it's way too easy now to make average music, where it was actually quite difficult before to make music. I think that we're in an age now where it's super simple to make stuff. I don't necessarily think that's I think it's sort of a good thing, but I think it's I think there's got to be a period where that, and maybe we're coming out of that period now, where there's actually the musicians perhaps are coming back to the fore, or I think there was a period where it became a bit too boffiny. And I'm nowhere near the musician that Paddy is. I'm much more interested in sounds and space and time and video and stuff. But there's definitely a period where the laptops came through and live came through and all that stuff, where there was a lot of pretty average music made, because all of a sudden it was really easy, and a lot of it proliferated.
Well, the tools are amazing, but ultimately it's the internal journey of the musician, and all the influences that you take in, and how much you develop your passion for what you want to say. Now that it's
how you create your own sound. I think like I'm still using the same techniques that I used when I first got my first 8-bit sampler, just on a different platform now, and I'm getting different sounds, of course. But I'm always finding, every time I try and turn down a path I've been down before, I try and stop myself and go, okay, I've got a day in the studio to develop some new sounds. I'm going to develop some new sounds and push and build up these palettes and things that are combinations of things that work for me, which is the way I've always worked. And take all of those things and pull them into the studio and to sort of create, to begin the journey of creating a song.
So there's still bits of that old or older, the analog equipment or the hardware that you still have, you still like, or you still lean back, or you pretty much now replaced it with all digital, or?
Still use my old use my old Akai sampler, because it's one of my favourite sounding things to use as a synth. Allegedly its filters were based on the Jupiter 8. And it just has a warmth and a fatness that very little things have, even though it's a digital sampler, and it has a specific multi-effects board that also has things I can't do in anything else. So
and the DP5 last got its outing at Play Centre with kids with a microphone, with them having as much excitement as I did when I first bought it, going, oh, this ping pong delay goes like that. So now it's turning on the 3 and 4 year olds. So.
Next generation.
That's right.
So with that sort of stuff, are you then sampling that hardware, recording that hardware for the live shows, or you're not taking it out as such? It all goes into
we only dropped the Akai about two maybe 3 years ago. Finally, I sort of finally came around to if we were to lose this, we could lose a whole 6-unit rack
Yeah.
and
Gotcha.
things that go with it.
We've had to rebuild in the 13 years. I think we've done 4, maybe 5 complete rebuilds of the way we play live, which is just, I don't know what you guys do, but you take all of that content and you try and put it into a whole new way of making it live. It's just, and we'd go somewhere for a week and basically stand still.
Yeah.
And at the end of the week, we were back to where we were, just on a different platform. That's, you know, there were some really ugly times just going, shit, we've got to move forward. But to move forward, we're going to have to do this process.
Yeah.
We just sit there and render out these files, or come up with a new way of doing it, develop the new way the set was going to fly, keeping on. I mean, the biggest thing for us is that everything's non-linear, that we can go backwards, we can go forwards, we can jump, we can play the set back to front, we can, you know, and that's the most important thing, is that we're not ever tied into a composition.
Yeah.
You know, obviously,
Yeah.
the more you play a song, the more it has a feel, so it tends to become a song. But at any point, we could play a really experimental gig, or we could do something, and we could just start from another place, turn all the faders down, and you know that every part of that journey from when we first met has been about any new technology has to come in and serve that purpose.
Yeah.
Which is absolute freedom for us to go wherever we want. You know, like we played in New Plymouth on Saturday night, we played for an hour, whereas at Explore we played for about 2 hours. Same content, but just, you know, almost
Played differently.
Played in a different form, in a different way.
Yeah.
I think that's, you know, if you're going to play live, you should be playing live.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing though is that ultimately our technique of playing live, although the platform has changed, we're still doing the same thing, and specifically that speaks to the fact that when we got the laptops in, there was no way I was ever going to look at, touch, or have it play it, because there just can't be anything. I think there's nothing worse or less musical than a laptop. I mean, for me as a keyboard player, keyboards for a start aren't physical enough. You know, that compared to the visceral physicality of a guitar or a drum. So I'm over there, and then a laptop's worse. And so it was always going to be that they're off the side, and we're still interacting with hardware. And so that's why Mike has moved from a mixing desk to 2 64 knob controllers laid out just like a mixing desk, and I've still got buttons in front of me and keys in front of me, and I have my cardboard overlays to tell me which scenes are which, so that I can jump around
Flick
on them.
through them.